What song are you guys dancing to right now?
Yeah, I'm dancing to Jump by Tyla. Yeah. That's like not my usual style either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very like TikTok viral song, which makes me feel uncomfortable because so many people do it. The music is just so good.
Give us a little sing-along preview.
They never had a pretty girl from Joburg. See me now with what they been go.
Prefer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She said
that
prefer.
Little prefer, boom, that little triple bass in the back.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite. I love.
How did you hit the triple bass?
Goom.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
The
like
goom
it just. I love a good little ski goom. So I'm dancing to Jump by Tyla.
Sick. What about you, Fonso?
I am currently dancing to Changes by Justin Bieber. I'm choreographing to it.
So does that make me the one less lonely girl then?
Describe your go-to dance outfit.
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
You got
what I'm wearing right now.
Right now.
Okay, minus the Crocs. Shout out to my sibling for the Crocs. But shout out to Studio 12 in Texas for giving me Dax specifically for this jumpsuit, sweatsuit. Like, I'm obsessed. I'm literally gonna stand up.
Is this a matching set?
It is a matching set.
So cute.
Untouchable.
Ooh.
Untouchable.
Like I can't touch it.
And you can wear a little Leo with a back, but like, they don't know.
You did a
sweatsuit.
Little fold too.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Put the little anyway. I'm kind of obsessed with sweatsuits because they make you look put together, but I can still be very lazy with it.
Love that. Stylish Teletubbies.
Yeah,
dancing Teletubbies.
Stylish, Tinky Winky. I love a oversized t-shirt and a sweat. Like, but if I'm on stage, I usually go for like the tight top, cargo pant. Like that's my style down. But usually like to take class or just to dance. I don't like being in like tight clothing. So it's the baggy one for me.
I will also say that I could get down in what I'm wearing now. Like cropping my pants, so.
Okay.
Ooh.
Just showing.
Can you show the camera a little?
Put that leg up.
Croppy crop? Okay, DIY. Let's go.
Period.
Yeah. I like dancing with long sleeves. Like how some people have like +10 dance skill when they wear a hat. That's like me with like long sleeves. Like it could be a crew neck, it could be a hoodie, it could be a cardigan, pullover, whatever.
I'm the exact same way.
Okay.
I cannot dance in even a t-shirt. Like I have to have my arms covered because it adds a little something, you know?
Like a little layer of protection?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it makes your movements look bigger.
Yeah, maybe I'm just self-conscious about my arms, but I don't know. Like
sexy with the ankles, but conservative with the arms.
Sexy with the ankles, conservative with the arms, for sure.
You're like in the olden days, you're like, ooh.
Look at the ankles.
Are those capris?
Not this.
Are those pedal pushers? Oh my goodness.
Are those capri pants?
What is your go-to dance move?
I got it.
Go.
Go. Wait, are you going to do each other's? Oh, we should do each other's.
I feel okay. Oh my God. I'm messing up the mic. It's like footwork. When you do like the toe heel.
Yeah.
I can't even like, how would I? I'm trying to think of a way.
Like
that's
one of these.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Yep.
Okay, Crocs.
You got it.
now.
I will be.
Like 6, 7, 8. What's mine?
No.
I don't even know if it could be constituted as a dance move.
You kind of did earlier, but one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even clock that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do hit those bases a lot. I love a little goom.
If you could name that move, what would you name it?
There is a name for it. I know.
The jawline? Jawline to the jaw.
I usually explain it as like the bird in the wall. Like, you know those like Kleenex, not Kleenex.
Windex. Yeah.
Those Windex commercials where like it's so clear that the bird like flies into it. You're the bird and that's like the analogy that I used to give.
Yeah.
But there is like a technical term for this. I believe it's a West African move. Just the neck banging part of it. There is a technical name for the move.
Yes.
I don't have that. I'm gonna figure that out. But yes,
you definitely add your own flair to it.
100%.
Yeah,
I have to.
There's some variations. Like
I have to figure. Yes, I have to see. That's what I thought you were gonna say. But
if
I don't
say
think
it,
the
I'm
back
gonna have
move
to do it. And
with the back one specifically, and what I was just about to say with this move is I have to find a way to tweak it or upgrade it every time. So there are a lot of ways that I change it up. So it could be like the positioning of like your neck. It could be like where the body part is, so you can just use your hips instead of using your neck. It could be the way that you're turning. So usually the way that I go is from down to up, but you could go from side to side. Like there's different ways to reverb in that way.
Yeah.
So I find I think that's kind of how I have fun as a choreographer, is being like, I know what I would typically do to hit this. How could I hit it in the same way, but do it completely different? And that's the same with me competitively, because I feel like I got known for like back bending or moves, which I don't think constitute as a dance move, but people do know me for it, to the point where people started copying it, to the point where I had to do it different, not just to separate myself from the people who copied, but also to upgrade it for competition. Because if I come back 1 year later doing the same thing, it's gonna be old.
Yeah.
Or by that time there would be somebody who's copying that it would look like we're doing it at the same time.
So people imitating you is the highest compliment.
It's
an annoying compliment,
but it is like
compliment.
there's two sides of it. There's like why couldn't they have done something different? And like there's the other part that's like, wow, they were so impacted or like impressed or moved by something that I did, to the point where they just wanted to see what it felt like to do it. And I can also understand that there's a very thin line between like innovating and biting, or like imitating and like biting. I think there's like a very thin line. And people that understand their own style and be like, hey, this is what I got from this move and this is how I'm gonna put my spin on it. Sometimes people don't have the tools or the technique to understand their style or put their own twist onto it. So how they learn is by imitating. How they learn is by biting that same routine, like move by move. The problem is when you profit off of that. The problem is when you take something I've done and now you teach it, or you put it on stage as your own and then you win and you collect money from it. That's very different. But I also think like, how many times I know some of the royal family's HHI routines by heart. Like I could stand up in here, like I could be in Kirsten's spot.
Yeah.
I know that blocking, but that's because I watched it and I felt so powerful when I looked at it, and I was like, I want to know what that feels like. Now I understand when I feel that, what that means in my movement, so I can create my own. But there's also not like a platform or an ability for people to understand how to transmute that.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, I see that, that's really cool. And it's like, you can actually do that, but you just have to find in your body how to make it feel that way. But so that's why biting is like, so like, oh my God, like you're impressed by what I did.
Yeah.
But then also it's like oh damn, you could have tweaked it a little bit. So that's really weird being a judge as well. And seeing the younger generation, like I judge a lot of high school comps. So to see, and this feels very weird to say, like coming from me, I'm trying to be like in an objective standpoint. But when I watch things and I was like, whoa, like that was from my set in 2019. Or like, whoa, like that's a combo that I've done before, like very clearly on stage. And I'm sitting there as a judge and I'm like, wow, I really want to be appreciative of this moment. But as a judge, I'm also like, I can't give them points for creativity. So it's been a very weird thing to observe from both sides, and I can understand it from both sides.
Yeah.
So I hope I can be able to communicate that from both sides to someone that's like, hey, you can also change it up, or also, hey, this is the first stepping stone to figuring out your style and how you feel good about yourself. So it's a very like touchy topic.
I think that's true for any art form. I guess the main takeaway would be that inspiration from a concept is something that is really beautiful about art, and it happens all the time, and it should. But also being able to take that concept and have your own yourself to apply to it, rather than just taking it at face value and copy pasting it. Those are two very different things. And I feel like you can tell.
Yeah. You feel it in the spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you have seen moments where you're like, wow, this is totally this person's, and they have the training, they put in the work, they really know themselves, and I inspired them to do like take something of mine, and that's flattering. How did you first get started dancing? 0 to 1.
I'll go.
Okay.
I have 2 older brothers. We kind of grew up as the YouTube era kind of just like began. We watched a lot of like breakdance, like Red Bull, like battles, and you know, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And so we just try stuff. not knowing what we're doing, but having fun doing it. Going into college, I signed up for a tap dance class, not knowing what I was getting into. I ended up loving tap so much. I ended up taking it for all 4 years.
Hence the footwork.
And
it all makes sense now.
Those are my roots as far as like dance.
Yeah.
I guess my 0 to 1 starts from when I was a gymnast. So it was the gymnastics days, and I always gravitated towards floor, which was like the performance. You got to do something to music, and like I was always distracted by that aspect, so I love to perform. And then during that time, I would just watch Michael Jackson videos and then like recreate that in the living room. And like my mom always knew that I was like just making up dances in the living room like for free time. And then So You Think You Could Dance, the first season came out, and again, me being a gymnast and not knowing anything about dance, I was just so fascinated with it, and I would again recreate the routines in my living room. So my mom knew there was some pull to performing, but I was a gymnast. Like my track was to go to the Olympics, so like that was just like a side thought. And then once I actually quit, first thing my mom said was like, okay, well, I guess dance is the next thing. Like, we have to get you in dance somehow. And then she found an audition for an art school, Orange County High School of the Arts, that was happening in like 3 weeks' time. She was like, oh, the audition is in 3 weeks and I want you to do it. I was like, cool. So within that 3 weeks, I just enrolled in a bunch of beginning jazz, ballet, tap, hip hop, and like truly finessed my way into this art school. Wow. Like, I don't know how I made it in. I had 3 weeks worth of training, like, and I guess real technical training. So that is kind of where I learned just a little bit of like dance etiquette. Like being in ballet, I was like, what is going on? I didn't like across the floor scared me bad. Like, so I had to figure that out in 3 weeks, and somehow I finessed. And then I went to a performing arts school, and that's kind of where I was introduced into like the regular like Eurocentric dance style. So again, like ballet, tap, jazz, I had to do all that. I was at the lowest level that you could be in that school because, again, I finessed my way in there. But then junior year is where I got introduced into hip-hop specifically, because one of my friends in my jazz class was like, do you want to do like this competition in Vegas with like me and my friends? Again, didn't know where I didn't know the friends in question. I just knew this girl in my jazz class. And then I was like, yeah, sure. And it ended up being HHI. Wow. And that's the first year that I went and I saw it on such like a big scale. And I remember being like, this is what I want to do. And ever since then, I've been just kind of chasing hip hop since. So that's been kind of where it started. So honestly, it started with Michael Jackson, and it will end with Michael Jackson, honestly.
Wow.
Like, I really hope. But that's how I first got started in dance.
That's so impressive that you got into OSHA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got into
in 3 weeks.
Got into OSHA. Like, little did they know. Yeah. I was at the studio's gone now. But there was a little studio in Costa Mesa called Jimmy DeFore. And I just 3 weeks straight showed up boot camp. Oh, they hated me. I didn't know how to turn. I didn't know how to do anything. But I was like, I'm going to get into this school. And I did.
That's so impressive. Who were some of your early inspirations?
Okay. For me, like off rip, it's Paris. Paris Gobert. Like and that comes from HHI. That wasn't even like the music video Rihanna era. It was when she had her team called Request. And it was an all-female team from New Zealand. And I remember watching them at HHI and being like, I don't know who that is, but again, it's the way that I felt. I felt so powerful watching them, and I was like, I want to feel like that. Yeah, I want to feel like that when I dance. Yeah. And then, obviously, following the royal family. Also, GRV. Archie was like my OG inspiration, and that comes from Crump and the way that he like built his closers. I remember watching, and I was like, I want to dance like that too. So even seeing those polar opposites, like Paris and Archie, two completely different styles, but I would say if there was a mix, that would be me.
It is. I was going to say.
But that's where my inspirations came from, is those two choreographers at HHI were the ones that caught my eye the most, or that influenced me to the point where I would like stand up and like cry because I felt so moved. Like, I cry at almost every Archie piece. And that's up to like the 2000s. Like, I feel something when I watch Archie dance. And that's the same thing with Paris. So watching them and feeling that in my body, not only was I like, I want to feel that way, but I wanted to make other people that watched me feel the same way that I do. That's why those competitions meant so much to me because I got to feel the experience of, hey, I remember when I sat in that seat when I didn't make it to finals and I'm doing it for that person. And then remember when I sat and watched those people and like, oh my God, those are like my inspirations. So I could figure it out for both. But yeah, those were really like the first two. And Archie also taught at org, which was like the first junior team that I was on. He was the first class I ever took with org. And I just remember freaking out and like, I could not stop doing it. So just like little Danyel, like crumping at like the apartment.
Do you still remember it?
No, I don't. And Archie, if you ever watch this and you remember when you taught org in Long Beach and we had to do it outside on the beach, that's the one. That's the one. We were outside on the beach. It was a hot day. And I practiced that combo for like probably 3 months. I feel like my mom knows the combo at this point. But those are my two like OG.
How dramatic, on the beach?
Yeah, on the beach. We like couldn't, we had like a beach practice day and that was like one of the worst days of my life because we had to condition on the beach and I cried. And then they're like, the surprise choreographer. And it was like Archie like at the pier. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. Like I was ready to quit. And then Archie was there and I was like, okay, I'm staying.
Yeah. So the marriage of their styles makes sense. Also because both of them, I think through their dancing, although their styles are very different, they're such good storytellers. Through the course of whatever, if it's a piece or if it's a set, like no matter how long, no matter like what the song is even, they take you through a journey.
Yeah. Great storytellers. And they could be anywhere. Like they could be opener, they could be middle piece, they could be closer. But because they're such good storytellers, they know what environment they need to be in. I just have so much respect for them both and also how they've been able to like, impact their team specifically. Because even for their pieces, like you can see the dancers around them pull up because they're around. I don't know. I could talk about it for days, but it's really a feeling and an energy as opposed to like, wow, the movement is really technically sound. Like, yes, of course, they're at a high level, but like, I don't know how to even explain the feeling of when you watch someone and you're like, wow, this is what they're meant to do. Or like, they're really tuned into themselves to the point where they can ignite everyone else around them to match that same energy. Like,
I hope you know that's what you do. Every show, every performance I've seen you at, that's the effect you have on the audience. Damn. So if I was sitting here with any one of those people, they would say, Danyel Moulton.
That makes little, like, 2013 watching HHI Danyel, like, want to cry, though.
If we're going back to the 0 to 1, I think one of the first people who I've repeatedly searched on YouTube while it was new, there's two, Pat Cruz and Keone Madrid. Those two, I've watched so many videos. Like, I'm sure I've seen every single Pat Cruz video that exists on the internet. I could resonate with just what I was watching so much to where I could imagine myself doing it. And I think they continue to inspire like my movement.
Oof, Pat Cruz.
Oh my God.
The relationship that Pat has to music and the way that he digests it, I've never seen anything like that before until I not even watched his videos, but really experienced it by taking his class. Oh my goodness. And then obviously Keone, he's like just stretches the boundaries of everything imaginable, of movement, of, again, the way we listen to music, the way we feel music, of business, like dance businesses, dance artistry, creativity, how you can use different mediums. Like they've definitely pioneered a lot of things in like maybe 1.5, like a 0.5 a generation before us. They're both phenomenal teachers. Have you taken class from them before?
Sadly, I have not.
And
I'm so sad.
We've got to get you in a Pat Cruz class.
You have, right?
Quickly,
Yeah, how would you say your experience was?
I mean, my experience was the org days. Like, Pat was like one of the most anticipated choreographers that would come down. And I didn't know who he was at the time. So I was just like, and I was very interested in like very like hype, aggressive. Like I was in that. So like he would do like a Miguel piece. And like I would hear the song and be like, like I would just be so like, but then that moment when he showed the piece for the first time with music and you could see like.
You could see the music.
Yes! You could see the music and you could connect. And I was humbled. I was in the back of that class like, okay, let me lock in right now. But he can break down musicality in a really beautiful way. It's very digestible. It's not just like, hey, this move goes here, this move goes here. But like, if there's a lot of music that does beats and lyrics at the same time, but based on his texture and the way he explains it, he forces you to either listen to the lyrics or the beats at the same. But it's the way he explains it to the point, again, or as a teacher, your students can execute something that you told them. Yeah. So it's not just him doing his movement, looking really good at the solo at the end. He can bring that out of other people. And I think that's beautiful. I think you got to take.
You have to.
Like, whoa.
I used to drive to the Bay to take his class at WSPA. Where the company I went to the company auditions like 10 years ago. He was teaching with Aggie to How Many...
Oh my God.
Miguel's song. It was to How Many Drinks. And I was like, you know what? This looks so hard, but I killed it. You know why? Because of the way that they teach. Yeah. I think it's because he comes from a family of dance teachers. Oh. Yeah. Because you know how like dancing's a craft, performing's a craft. Teaching is a different craft as well. 100%. But he's mastered both.
All of it. Yeah. Right.
What was your most memorable dance job or project? Because I know you do everything from teaching, directing, putting together sets for different teams. So you wear a lot of different hats, but what was your most memorable?
For me, my most memorable job was Lollapalooza with TXT. Ooh. And that was last year. It was memorable because I had never heard an audience of that many people before in my life. So we were backstage, like the choreo was fine, but we went backstage and I remember them announcing TXT and hearing the sheer volume of human voices screaming like that scared me. Like to a point where I was like, and everyone saw me, they're like, are you okay? Like my body was genuinely
are they okay?
shocked to the point where I was like, what? And then I started bawling and I was like, this is where I want to be. Like this environment is what I strive for. So now my like intention in like, I guess maybe goal is to do that, but with my own choreography, like, and have the agency to be curating that experience with that type of audience. But I've never experienced something like that before. So it was so memorable because I was like, this is what you've been shooting for. You're not there yet, but keep this memory here. And then in terms of a project, what we just did for Vibe, that's just, I don't think I'll ever forget the process of that. And I'll also never forget the feeling of doing that on stage.
Yeah. Rapid fire, Fonso. Memorable job.
Yeah, you got it.
Memorable job. Well, I'm going to just say project. Would be my first project team for The Bridge. It was the one that we were talking about. I think that was the first time I've kind of gathered all of my friends into one space from different points of my dance journey. And everyone is there just looking at the room, just like, dang, these people are from when I went to college. These people are from my first team. These people are from my current team. These are people that I just met in class. And just seeing that come together, like that, and also that being the first competition back from the pandemic. And I was just like, I'll never, core memory, I'll never forget that.
Totally. Yeah. I believe, Jessie, that dance is not only an expression of our culture. Oh, so that was the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Okay.
Not the syllable, okay.
I believe, this is, welcome to the UN. I believe that dance is not only an expression of our culture, but that dance actively influences and shapes our culture. So you're both passionate about using dance as a vehicle for awareness, to spark conversations and change, especially in times of global crisis. Can you talk about the role that dancers and art and artists have in our society?
I'm going to try to shorten it because transparently, this also has kind of changed the trajectory of who I am in the community and like who I present myself as. And this started during the pandemic for me personally. And I'll get a little bit more into like the global crises that we see now and kind of why the vibe set was what it was. But the start of everything for me personally was 2020. We're locked down. And at that time, I felt like I was in the peak of my career. Like I was just about to get to the point where I wanted to. COVID shut it down. And experiencing the notion that there are people in the same community that I'm in that can look at Black people and see them being harmed or killed and not saying anything, but then continuing to profit, whether that be emotionally, physically, or financially from a Black art form, was like enough to break me kind of spiritually and creatively. So 2020, I went through a time where, okay, dance is all I want to do. Now we're dancing at home. Now everything's going on with George Floyd. Now I'm noticing that people that I've shared the stage with don't actually care about these things, and I feel unsafe around them. I have to disband V Mo. V Mo comes back, and then I realize that the community that we're in is, again, still filled with people that don't really care about these things, but will continue to profit. And they're going to continue to take, not just from the art form, they're going to take from the culture. But when the culture and the people in it are being actively harmed, all of a sudden it's not my problem. It's not my issue. And that even happened for me, watching that, for choreographers that I looked up to, peers that I looked up to. I've lost so many friends over the past few years because of how outspoken I am about issues or outspoken I am about things that are going on. But for me, seeing people that looked like me getting killed and seeing people that I knew not saying anything was like, it was gaslighting in a way for me, but that takes me back to right now, because during that time, I think I understood that the people who are the least impacted by the issues at hand should be the loudest to speak because they're not being influenced. So at the time in 2020, it was really hard for me to look at these things and then also mentally process it, then try to conceptualize it to a point where I could strategically educate the people around me and audition for their empathy while still trying to process the things that I'm looking at, while still trying to be creative and fight in an industry that doesn't care about these things and only cares if you put out content. So I kind of sat there and was like, I don't think there's a place for me here unless I use my voice at the same time. So that's kind of now what the vibe set turned out to be for me. It wasn't just one thing. It was waking people up to the things that are going on and how they have an impact on what we do. So right now, with the genocide going on in Palestine, I think it's important for everybody to talk about it, because it's not just whose side are you on? These are human beings. Like, this is a humanity issue. So for me, I have to speak the loudest about Palestine because I'm not Palestinian. I don't have family members being executed right now. I don't have the worry that I'm going to wake up and half of my bloodline is gone. Like, I don't have to worry about that. So I can speak. And how I speak the loudest is when I dance. But that part of myself was broken from 2020. I haven't been able to access it until now. So now is the time where I felt like I have the platform to do it. I have the creativity to do it. I have the safety. I have the right people around me. I think it's time for this message. So past putting a set that is high level, that could win a competition like Vibe, which is the goal always, it was also like, this is the biggest platform I have right now. And that's all I can do for Palestine is, yes, I can go to protests. I can do all these things behind the scenes, and I will continue to do it. But for me personally, as Danyel Moulton, where can I have the biggest impact? And that was Vibe. Yeah. That's the biggest audience. That's one of the most prestigious competitions that we could have right now here in SoCal. And yes, of course, I would want to win, and I would want to use my voice at the same time. But the point of the set was that you can do both. Yeah. And of course, it's a competition we want to win, but the goal wasn't to place. Like, the goal wasn't to win. We're not like, oh, we're going to walk away sad if we don't. The getting the message out there was the point. And we happened to place second, which means there's more visibility. But I think being able to call for a ceasefire on stage and see, like, I will never forget the moment that we put up our fists and then they had ceasefire in the back. And then we saw people stand up. Like, that standing ovation we saw, to have people film it and see people feel something that wasn't just like, oh my God, that was a great dance performance. It was like, whoa, this is happening right now. Like, whoa. Like, the point was to get the people in the audience to feel as if they needed to leave because they were wasting time, because they needed to do something and they needed to act. So that's how I want to make people feel. And that goes back to HHI. I want to make people feel something when I dance. I want to make people feel as if they can either do something that they didn't think that they could speak about something they never thought they could speak about, or there's something that they have that no one else can, that they can speak the loudest. I want them to feel that. So that, like, the message of the set integrated with my message as an artist as well, even from when I was like struggling from when I was 14 to be seen in this way. So it was really meaningful to be able to put something like that together. But I think now, out of all times, it's the most important for artists to step up, because the role that art has in the generic population is way bigger than people think. Your favorite artist, influencer, dancer, the person that you look up to, if you hear what they have to say with their own words, you're most likely going to listen to them, as opposed to a politician or someone that's on the news telling you something that's happening. And I realized, and I think that my team realized, the privilege that we had in that moment to be like, if we could get this whole audience just to take 10 seconds to think about Palestine, or to think about COVID, to think about the transphobia that's going on, to think about Stop Asian Hate. And then once you start naming all those things, it's like, doesn't it feel a little bit crazy that all of these things have been happening, but they haven't been addressed, or that we kept going with it? And that's what the set was about. So it's not just a set to win, it's a set to express how I've been feeling over the past few years. So it's not just Palestine, it's people ignoring COVID and not masking. Again, even abusers being still let into studios and still playing abusers' music, and the way that we talk about gendered language in class. Like, all of those feelings that I've felt of the past few years of just sitting back and looking like, why isn't anything happening, or why isn't anybody talking about it, is all on footage. It's all on that stage. And to the point where we integrated the team and the things that they cared about. And there's like a Google sheet that one of our members, shout out to Kyle, put together of the issues that people on the team cared about, whether that be their own culture, something that happened to them, something that means a lot to them. And we're all dancing for that. And there's those news clips that show you all the things that's going on. And that's supposed to instill panic, but that's the point. The point is to bring out the urgency of, like, let's say for some reason you do not care about what's going on in Palestine. There's something that relates to you that you need to be caring about this much in America right now. Like, dead ass, all of us are complicit in something because of our government that we pay taxes to, Palestine or not. There's something that you could be focusing on, or something that you need to be aware of for your safety, that you need to be putting time, energy, money, resources, and community into. And that's why the set was what it was. It could have been just about one thing, because I think, honestly, Palestine is like what consumes my mind most of the time, or consumes a lot of people's minds because of the tragedies of what's going on. But at the end of the day, everybody has something that they could focus on to make their community better before it gets to a point where you have to see people that look like you die and then nobody do anything about it. Yeah. There's got to be a way to ignite everybody in some way. So that was the effort of this previous Vibe set, was to wake the audience up to something that they care about. It doesn't have to just be what we care about. Wake up to something that you care about, and using dance to do that. And I think there's a notion that I've been fighting over the past few years of, you either be an activist or you be a dancer. You cannot be both. And I think you can be both. And that's what the set was. Yeah. You can win a competition like Vibe and still use your voice. It doesn't have to be either or. And just because you use your voice doesn't mean you can't be a high-level dancer. And just because you're a high-level dancer does not mean you are high enough to not use your voice. And I want to push people to do both. And I really think I'm going to be actively fighting that for the rest of my career. And I feel like Vibe was like the first step for me to be like, you know what? This is just going to have to be it because of the world that we live in. But I can find motivation and passion within that while still helping these communities that we're fighting for, because we're all a part of it. At the end of the day, we're all human. At the end of the day, like, we're seeing people that look like us, that have families. Also, even talking about Palestine, talking about Gaza, there was just a studio that was bombed. There were kids that were killed. The same kids that these instructors were teaching dance to have them ignore the genocide that was going on. And those kids were killed. So where's the community now? Where's the global dance community now? Now that we're safe, and now that we're able to raise money, or we're able to use our voice, and there's a studio, breakers, dancers that are asking for help, that are being executed, and we're over here like, well, it doesn't apply to us. And that's beyond me. Yeah. That's beyond me. And again, there's so many things happening in the world, but choose one and do something good with it. Yeah. Because dance, at the end of the day, and why it's so beautiful, is it's a universal language. Yeah. You do not have to speak English to know what we're saying And that goes back to the energy. I knew exactly what Paris was saying. We didn't have to speak the same language. I don't have to know her. I don't have to know her experience. I felt it when I saw her. And that's the ability that we have as dancers. So the fact that we're not using that to call attention to, or it doesn't even need to be call attention, but to ignite our community that supports us, to support people in need, is something that I feel like we're extremely lacking right now. And there's not enough visibility. There are people that are doing it, but they don't have the platforms to go to Vibe. They don't have their own teams. They are not in those type of places. So I'm saying it not just to be like, oh, we're the only one. Like, I want you to do it too. Yeah. And I want you to do it quickly. I need you to ignite and hurry up, because this is not the last genocide we're ever going to see. This is not the last time that our government's going to be involved in something like this. So we need to gain the tools to act now and do both. So that's a long-winded way of saying that as an artist, I feel like it is our time to raise our voice about what we care about, and also to be the voice for those that do not have one. And why dancing specifically is so powerful is it is universal language. And that's why being able to teach internationally and knowing the feeling of seeing people that don't speak the same language as you, understanding you fully, makes me understand that there's other people in the world that are going through these things that use dance as an escape. That's all they have, to be able to see people move their body. And even as like, if you pull it back, those who are going through those things don't even have to see dance. They just need to see bodies who are not in trauma. And that's what we can give them. We can give them joy. We can give them something to look forward to. So even not in like a raise awareness, just like give joy through dance while raising awareness about these things is the least that we could be doing. And I wish more people did it, and I hope that that set with such visibility that it does have, because of the place because we got second, will also ignite other people to do the same thing, not even for the same cause, but just for something. Yeah. Dance can be used for so many things, but I really do think activism is one of them. So that's why we put the set together. That's why our board had so many conversations about like, hey, we're gonna get backlash. Like, this is going to be a lot to handle, and we need to be okay with that. We had talks with the team like, hey, you might get backlash. That's not what we mean, but we'll protect you if needed. And if anybody comes at you, they come to me, give them to me, and we can talk. But that getting to that point as a human, then going to a point as a creative and being like, how do we make a set that is so good that people listen? How do we make a set that is so perfect that they can't even clock the dancing? They have to clock the message that we're saying, and that was the point of it. So if you do watch the Vibe set, knowing that context, that's kind of what was like the behind the scenes of it, at least specifically for me, speaking as a leadership member, but also speaking from my personal experience in 2020. That's why the opener was what it was. I remember when I listened to Crazy by Doechii, I cried. And I was like, this is not like a sad song at all. But the rage and anger in Doechii's voice completely, like, it made me feel seen of how crazy I felt consistently talking about these things and seeing even people that supported me for 2020 Black Lives Matter now silent about Palestine. And I'm like, but you heard me. We were there. We went to protests together. So and feeling crazy that these things are coming up over and over and over again. But here we are. Okay, I just want to dance. I just want to do cool moves. And there is a place for that. But with where the world is right now, I feel like everybody can do their part. And imagine if we did. Imagine if we got the global dance community to help in that way. Imagine if the dance community was able to come together in the same way that we do for Vibe, in the same way that we do for HHI, and raise funds for Palestine. Or what if we were able to get some visibility to these people who are in need in this country, experiencing homelessness, experiencing everything that we are. Why can't we come together to help those communities with the reach that we have? And that's just my little nudge or push to be like, don't wait for those other people to do it. You do it. You make your own team and you do it. Yeah. So that's what I want kind of the general public to understand from it, but also to my peers to be like, you don't have to lead a team to be able to do something like this. You don't have to be at this place as a choreographer to be able to speak about these things. And I think there is a stigma around, if you use your voice, then you won't get jobs. If you use your voice, then you're going to become hard to work with. But I think that my personality and also the level of dancing could speak for itself. But then I can also, on top of that, use my voice to advocate for those people who are in need. So I'm literally begging and pleading for people that watch that set to do one thing, whether it be for Palestine, whether it be for something that they truly care about. Just do one thing. And if it's incorporated within dance, even better. Yes. But you can do both. that's a lot. But I swear, like,
Beautifully
this
said,
is my, like, and I think that's what I struggle with in continuing within the community as well. It's like, where does my work have the most impact? Because if it's falling on deaf ears, then the root of the cause isn't gone. I still feel very passionate about activism. So does that mean I have to shift my audience? Does that mean I have to shift the community that I'm in? Does that mean I have to say, like, hey, I guess this community's not listening, I have to go somewhere else? What does that mean? I'm like directly in that right now as the aftermath of Vibe and being like, okay, well, there's no competitions to prep for. There's nothing to do right now. So what am I really doing? So I hope that there's more opportunities to be able to speak in that way, whether that be about the things that I care about or through dance. But there needs to be more opportunities for us to be able to showcase our humanity past, hey, I'm really good at choreography or I'm a really good talent. Like that's great, but sometimes the most talented people are not the best humans. And those are the people that get lifted up. So that's kind of like a wide range of, if we're able to show our humanity in these spaces a little bit more, then our dance community would be safer. Then we would be able to produce work that has just as much meaning technically as it does in a humanity sense, or as it does emotionally or mentally. And I know there's a lot of choreographers that are able to push for that, but I feel like it's lacking. And it's lacking in a way that is not dangerous, but it's like, damn, we could just be doing so much more. I'm going to just stop talking now.
No,
but
I, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that, all of your personal backstory, as well as the process and the intention. I feel honored that this is the place that you're elaborating on it, because I'm sure tons of people have or will or have seen, or tons of people have or will see the video if they weren't there in person. But to have this side commentary and context is so valuable. So thank you so much, first of all.
Thank you for giving me the space, because that's definitely what we wanted. Like, yes, we want the dance to speak for ourselves, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to speak about it in this type of way. So thank you for even giving
super
the
honored.
space for that.
Yeah.
Babe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just going to add, I think it was just so well said. And I think a lot of your values and the way that you approach things, I approach it very similarly, and we care about a lot of the same things. I think just adding to that, I mean, not really adding, but just emphasizing, as far as like artists, dancers, I think one thing that I guess we don't see enough of is the human in that. Like, I think my brain.
Okay.
Sorry, it's warming up.
Okay.
Gears are turning.
Load it up.
I think it starts with conversations like this, right? I don't think you see that enough. A lot of times we don't, as artists, we just present. We care about how it looks. We never really explore the whys. Like, why are we doing it? Why did I make this piece? Why does it look this way? Why does it feel this way? And I think having a conversation about it can really help someone understand you more. And it could prompt you to listen. It can open you up to things that you weren't aware about before, things that you might not have cared about before, but now you do because it touched you in this way, and it pushed you to do research or to really look into things differently and change that perspective. And so, as far as, the role that we have as artists, as creatives, is to really just bring the human back into it. I think a lot of people, or social media has kind of like changed that over the past like few years. I think people just want to do what's cool. People just want to do what will get them a gig, what will get them a job, and kind of lose the why, or that turns into their why. And that's the only source that they pull from. Like, this is why I'm doing it. And I think at least for me, like, dance is a way to express myself and to connect with other people. And so, I think just continuing to do that and really like pushing to do that and like, just, yeah, I mean.
I love what you said about being able to talk about your work. Because you know how like you go to a film screening or something, afterwards you'll have the directors and some of the actors, and they'll have a discussion, a Q&A, and they'll take questions from the audience and get to talk about, you know, the process or their inspiration or whatever, right? Yeah. Or even when you go to an art museum, there's like a little thingy on the side of the thing, and you get to read about the artist and, you know, what point in their life were they at when they made this piece. But with dance, we just see it. We see it, we hear it, we soak it in, and that's all it is. It's almost like, to your point, people make it sort of passively for the sake of the movement, for the sake of the video, and so people ingest it passively. Versus when you make something like what you made, like a true artist, and you are infusing all of your lived experience and authentic passion into something, and that's not something you make overnight. That's something that took months and months and months, multiple people on and off stage, you know, multiple back and forths, maybe debates, I'm even imagining, or questions and like self-doubt, all of these things that spreadsheets on spreadsheets, I can imagine, right? So something like that isn't something you scroll past. That's something you feel. You're forcing people to feel. So I'm so glad to be able to tell a little bit more of that story, but also first and foremost for you guys to honor yourselves as being a true artist and wanting to utilize every stage you have, every video you have, every, you know, screen real estate that you can capture to actually do something with your craft is so inspiring. And I hope that's what people take away from this, listening, watching this, is that if you care about something, that isn't separate from your art. That is a part of your art. If you don't care about anything, seek help.
Quickly.
Do some self-reflection.
There's
some reflection.
There's something, I promise.
You know, I mean, to be fair, maybe like people are younger and they're not quite sure yet what that fire is for them. But for the people that do have that, and can identify it, but they're still at the point maybe you were at a couple years back, or like 4 or 5 years back, where you saw those things as separate. And I think what you're allowing people to do with what you guys have created is you're bridging that gap. And so I'm really hoping that that message reads clear and people walk away inspired. Wow. Last question.
Okay.
My ultimate dream in dance is?
I think just mental stability. As well as financial stability. But just being happy, staying happy while dancing is like the goal, right? And obviously there's, you know, you do have to work, there's professional environments, but I don't want dance to ever feel like work, if that makes sense, because I enjoy doing it so much.
It's gonna all bleed into each other, I promise. Ultimate goal is to work with an artist and choreograph a tour. And I have this like superstition or premonition, I don't know, I believe it so strongly in my spirit, that like my track is to work with a very underground artist and they build trust with me and we continue to work, and then they all of a sudden like blow up and it's like, well, I'm their choreographer. Like I've been with them from the jump. I don't know how that's going to be cultivated, but for some reason that's just so steady. And also the dream within that is to be able to get opportunities like that and pay the people that work with me. We do so much community work where we pay registration, we pay for a costume to then perform at a high school where we lose money if we don't win. Like I feel like we go through so much with rehearsals, we understand discipline, we understand these things. I want to get to a point in my career where I can get my dancers paid to rehearse. You're coming to rehearse and you're getting paid for that, not for the show, for the rehearsal. And I want to get to a point within my own career that I have the respect and the trust to be able to choreograph these things for these big events and these big artists, but also have enough trust that I can bring the people that I trust, the people that have been on V Mo, the people that have been working with me for how many years, that have given me essentially free labor, or they have given me their labor plus money in order to make one of my visions come alive. Like I know that turnaround is something that I care about deeply within my career. So that's the dream for me. The dream is to work with an artist, to be able to choreograph for a tour, but within that, to be able to pay the people that have supported me, or to be able to pay the people that are working with me so they don't have to do free work. Because I think what we do is worth a lot of money.
1000%. Very last thing, quick rapid fire shout outs to your communities, past and present.
current and forever community is V Mo at V Mo Dance. Go watch our vibe set. And I teach at Offstage. I teach at Millennium. Oh, not Millennium. Whoa, possibly in the future. That's a teaser. I teach at Movement Lifestyle, and I teach at various places. Always and forever shout out to OC. And
shout out to V Mo. I also teach at Offstage. And shout out to my boys, Rodrigo, Shelly. Y'all got me into dance. Thank you so much. It's been crazy ever since.
Yeah.